Welcome to our Shir in Lekutes Siches in Chelek Yud Beis. We will be learning a Siche on Pashas Behar, the first Siche on Behar. Now this Siche is on the Rashi in the first postuk in the Parsha. However, in order to understand this Rashi, the Rebbe will compare and contrast the Rashi here with various other sources throughout Rashi and Chumash. So for that purpose, we will be looking at the screen periodically in order to see the text in the original so that we'll better be able to appreciate the fine points that Rebbe brings out in Rashi's Pirush. The Parsha begins teaching about the mitzvah of Shemitah. The seventh year was supposed to be meant to be a year of rest. We are meant to let the land lie fallow, not to work it. And this takes place every 7 years. So the postuk, the first postuk says that Hashem spoke to Moshe at Har Sinai, and the next postuk says that Moshe should speak to Bnei Yisrael and tell them that when you get to Eretz Yisrael, remember Hashem is talking to him in the desert. The mitzvah about the land will only become operative once they enter Eretz Yisrael and they settle it. So when you get there, Hashem says to Moshe, tell the people when you get there, the land must rest a Shabbos la Hashem, a rest for Hashem. What does that mean? So Rashi, on the word Shabbos la Hashem, explains. Let's look at it. Shabbos la Hashem, Rashi in the beige box. A Shabbos to Hashem, l'shem Hashem, for the sake of Hashem. L'shem shenema b'Shabbos Bereishis, just as it says concerning Shabbos of each week, which is called Shabbos Bereishis, as we'll see more fully later. Just as it says concerning Shabbos Bereishis, concerning the Shabbos of each week, that it's Shabbos la Hashem Elekecha, so too here must you rest a Shabbos for Hashem with the land. The land will rest a Shabbos for Hashem's sake. And we'll see a little bit later what exactly that means. That's the Rashi here. Now, twice, one after the other, the postuk said here Shabbos Lashem. The first time we read together. The second time is 2 psukim later, when the Eibishter elaborates and he says, 6 years shall you plant and reap, but on the 7th year, 4th posuk, the Shnas Shabbosoin year la'oretz, it'll be a year of rest for the land. Shabbos la Hashem. On the 7th year, it should be a Shabbos Shabbosoin. It should be a complete rest for the land. Again, it says the expression Shabbos la Hashem, a Shabbos for Hashem. Over here, Rashi said nothing. Where does Rashi comment? The first time the word Shabbos la Hashem comes up. Says the Rebbe, in actual fact, this idea of Rashi comes from the Torah's Koyanim, the Medrash Halacha and Vayikra. There, the Medrash says, same idea, but in reverse order, and some other discrepancies, which we'll soon talk about. The language of the Torah's Koyanim is Shabbos LaHashem, Ishem Shenemar b'Shabbos Bereishis, Shabbos LaHashem, just like it says concerning the Shabbos of each week, that it should be a Shabbos for Hashem, Kach Nemer Bashvi, so too is written about the Shabbos year, sabbatical year, that it should be Shabbos LaHashem. Sound very similar, and they seem to be saying the same thing. But, said the Rebbe, if we look carefully, there are several discrepancies. What are those discrepancies? Number one, the order. Rashi reverses the order of the Torah's Koyanim, and he leaves out that comparison that the Torah's Koyanim makes, just like it says concerning Shabbos of every week, that it should be for the sake of Hashem. So too shall the seventh year be for the sake of Hashem. That just as so too that Rashi leaves out. That's the first and second discrepancies. The third one is that the Torah's Koyanim comments on the second time it says Shabbos LaHashem in the fourth pasuk. The Torah's Koyanim says on these words Shabbos LaHashem that it means for the sake of Hashem, just as it says about Shabbos of every week, Shabbos LaHashem, so to here concerning the sabbatical year, Shabbos LaHashem. Rashi comments on this Shabbos LaHashem, let the land rest a Shabbos for Hashem of the first pasuk. So we need to understand why it is that the Torah's Koyanim comments on the second appearance of Shabbos LaHashem and Rashi on the first. The basic idea is that Rashi has a different approach from the Torah's Koyanim. Torah's Koyanim, as I said, is the Medrash Halacha, is out to extract halachas which are not clearly written in the Torah, to extract them from nuances in the psukim. Rashi is not out to extract halachas, to tell us, teach us halachas. Rashi wants to give us the meaning of the pasuk, the pshuta shel mikra. And because of this difference in approach, that's why we find all three discrepancies between this Rashi here and the Torah's Koyanim on which it is based. And we'll explore these as we go along. In Ois Gimel, the Rebbe said that there are some people who explain the Rashi Shabbos LaHashem that it's L'Shem Hashem, for the sake of Hashem, that Rashi means to negate a Shabbos for the sake of the land or for the sake of the farmer. Meaning, it's good for land to lay fallow for a year, because that way the land regains its strength, its nutrients, so that it will produce a better crop in the following years. And the Rebbe brings in Ha'oreh 7, he brings the Gemara in Bava Basra. In Bava Basra, Perek Cheskas Habatim, the whole chapter is about how a person establishes his possession on land. Your possession about your wallet, you don't have to prove. If you have a wallet in your pocket, you have no obligation to prove that it's yours. If anybody wants to claim and say that it is, the obligation is on him to prove it. But you have your wallet in your pocket, you're under no obligation to prove that it's yours. Possession makes it yours. However, in the case of land, because land doesn't move, so no one has it. People occupy the land. But it's very possible that the land which you're occupying is not yours. Maybe you're a squatter. Maybe you just took over illegally, hoping that the owner won't throw you out. So in the case of land, it works the other way. Once we know for sure that it used to belong to somebody, then the current occupant has no right to claim that he owned the land, that he bought it, that it was given to him as a gift, or whatever. He has no right to the land unless he can prove that it's his. How did he prove it? Well, the simplest way of proving it is by a document. If he can show a deed of sale, it's clear. 2 witnesses testify that this land was sold to him. But people don't hang on to documents forever. So must a person always hold on to his deed of sale just in case the old owner turns out to be unscrupulous and tries to take it back after selling it? Forever? So the rule is that once you've occupied the land uncontested for 3 years, it's yours. You have possession of the land, and anyone who wants to challenge you, the occupant, he must prove it. You are proper occupant. It's like the land is in your pocket, like your wallet. Now, how do we measure those 3 years? It's 3 consecutive years where the occupant has worked the land. Let's say they weren't consecutive, you left it fallow for a year. Does that take away his chazaka, his possession? So let's say he worked year 135, and now it's the end of the 5th year, and the old owner comes and challenges his occupation. The old owner says, it's mine, I never sold it. The occupant doesn't have a document anymore, but he said, I've been on the land for 3 years, I've worked it for 3 years. So the old owner will say, yeah, but you didn't work it consecutive years. So does that spoil the possession of the occupant? Said the Gemara, no, because people leave the land fallow in order that it should produce a better yield the following year. So the fact that it wasn't consecutive and he left it fallow for a year doesn't destroy his possession by occupation. So we see that there's such a thing as leaving land fallow. It's a normal practice. And in the case of this occupant, he didn't leave it fallow because of Shemitah. He left it fallow. So maybe when a person keeps the mitzvah of Shemitah and he lets the fields lie fallow, maybe he'll figure he'll do it so that the land will regain its strength and will produce better in the coming years. Therefore, the Postuk says, Shabbos LaHashem, and the Rashi explains, L'Shem Hashem, don't do it for the sake of the land. Do it for Hashem's sake, because He commanded you. And by leaving the land fallow for a year, you are testifying that the land belongs to Hashem. Alternately, it could be that a farmer who works year after year after year, he gets tired. Well, the Eibishter maybe said that we should have a mitzvah of Shemitah to give the farmer a break. So either it's l'shem the land or it's l'shem the person who works it. So Rashi says, no, do it l'shem Hashem, for the sake of Hashem who commanded you to keep the Shemitah. That's what several Meforshim say in explanation of Rashi's words, l'shem Hashem. But the Rebbe is not happy with that, because several arguments. First of all, if the words Shabbos Hashem are not clear enough, then Rashi should have explained those words not here, but further back when the words Shabbos Hashem are first used in reference to the Shabbos of each week. Uvayoyim Hashvi'i Shabbos Hashem Elekecha in Aseret Hadibris. So there Rashi should have explained what does it mean Shabbos Hashem Elekecha. Keep the Shabbos not as the day off, not as the break, but keep it for the sake of Hashem. So over there, he doesn't say anything. Over here, Rashi says that Shabbos Hashem means like in the case of Shabbos of each week. And in the Shabbos of each week, he doesn't explain it. Over here, he does explain it. But if it's not clear enough that Shabbos Hashem means for Hashem's sake, then this is not the place where Rashi should have explained it, but the first time those two words appear. If the words themselves are clear enough, but only in this case, in the case of Shemitah, they need explanation, then why doesn't Rashi bring the proof that La Hashem means for the sake of Hashem from other instances where we find that Torah says, for example, in raising the materials and the funds to build the Mikdosh, the Mishkan, Hashem says, speak to Bnei Yisrael and let them bring a contribution, a truma la Hashem, an offering for Hashem. What does for Hashem mean there? And Rashi does explain in that case, it means lishmi. What li? For me? It means lishmi, for Hashem's sake. Vikoli truma, says Rashi, have them take for me an offering. In other words, it's not that a person can take, for example, a lamp that he made at home and say, okay, this will be for the Beis Hamikdash. A table that he made at home, it's a nice table, I'm donating it to the Beis Hamikdash. No, it has to be purpose-built for the sake of the Mishkan, for the Eibishter. Lishmi, for Hashem's sake. So there Rashi does explain it. So why doesn't Rashi back up the meaning of Shabbos Hashem, that it means for Hashem's sake, with that pasuk where it talks about V'choli Truma? Or there's another pasuk in Pashas Kisisa where Hashem says also about Shabbos. Remember that the commandment of Shabbos is repeated in Torah 5 or 6 times. So here in Pashas Kisisa, it says that Sheishes Yomim Yosam Malachas, 6 days a week work shall be done. Uvayoyim Hashvi'i, on the 7th day, it should be a Shabbos Shabbosoin La Hashem, a complete rest La Hashem, Kodesh La Hashem, holy for Hashem. What's holy for Hashem? So Rashi says, what's holy to Hashem? That the observance of its sanctity, why are you keeping it holy? It shall be for my name and by my commandment, says Hashem. You're doing it for Hashem. You're not keeping it holy for any other reason, but that Hashem told you. So Rashi explained over there the term Kodesh LaHashem as meaning for Hashem's sake. So here too, the Shabbos LaHashem would mean like there. So why does Rashi compare it to Shabbos Bereshis? The third objection that the Rebbe has to this understanding of Rashi, that a person should not keep Shemitah as a benefit for the land or for himself, as a break for himself. The third objection that Rebbe has, that according to that interpretation, Rashi is only explaining the word La Hashem. What did La Hashem mean? For the sake of Hashem. So why does Rashi in his caption, when he cites the words of the postic that he's going to explain, he cites two words, Shabbos La Hashem. He's not explaining the word Shabbos at all. Therefore, the Rebbe concludes that what Rashi is out to explain is something else. It's not that the word Shabbos La Hashem, for the sake of Hashem, need explaining. What does need explaining is why the Torah uses the word Shabbos here altogether. After all, the beginning of the pasuk is, speak to Bnei Yisrael, tell them, when you come to the land that I'm giving you, V'shov so ha'oretz, the land shall rest. So Shabbos is again a rest. So why not say V'shov so ha'oretz la Hashem? The land shall rest for the Lord. Why repeat the word Shabbos? That's what Rashi is out to explain. And that's why he cites the word Shabbos in his Dibur HaMaschal, in his caption, on which he's explaining his commentary, because the word Shabbos is what raises the question. Who needs that word, Shabbos? And Rashi comments on the first time those words appear, because here it's where it's difficult, because it already said, V'shov so ha'oretz. Whereas two psukim later, where it says Shabbos La Hashem, we already know what it means from the first time. But the question arises the first time the pasuk said Shabbos La Hashem, is the repetition after V'shov so. That's Rashi. So Rashi explains that from the extra word Shabbos, we learn that what kind of a rest must it be? It must be a rest like the Shabbos of every week. What kind of special rest is the Shabbos of every week that we compare the rest of Shemitah to that rest? That we'll see a little bit later. In Oitz Vov. That's Rashi. But the Torah's Koyanim approaches it from a different angle altogether. It's not that the word Shabbos is difficult, but the Torah's Koyanim is looking to derive a halacha. And the Torah's Koyanim's method is that when a phrase is repeated in Chumash, which was already taught earlier, the second time it's written comes to teach us a new halacha. Those words imply a new halacha. What is that halacha? That the rules of Shabbos, Bereishis, the regular weekly Shabbos, and the rules of the Shabbos of the land are the same, as will soon be explained in what way are they the same. But Torah's Kohanim is coming to tell us about the rules of the Shabbos of the land. And when does Torah's Kohanim extract this halacha? When the Torah repeats the phrase Shabbos LaHashem in the second source, the fourth pasuk, Shabbos in Yiloret, Shabbos LaHashem. The first time it says it, it's okay. The second time, why does it say Shabbos LaHashem again? To teach us a new halacha, that it has the same rules. It shares rules with the weekly Shabbos. But according to Rashi, the repetition in the pasuk, in the fourth pasuk here, is not difficult. Torah often repeats itself after introducing a new element. What's the new element in between this posuk and that posuk? The Torah says, "A sviach tzircha lo yistik Torah." Don't even gather, don't harvest even the tzvichim, those non-planted growths that you didn't work to prepare to make grow. They too must be left alone, and they must be accessible to everybody, to the poor, and lahavdil the behemoths. Everybody has to have access to them. The owner cannot hoard them for himself, harvest them for himself. So the Torah introduces that element, and therefore, having introduced that, so now the Torah says, Shabbos LaHashem, here's going to be the Shabbos LaHashem insofar as the Tzvichim are concerned. So according to Rashi, it's not difficult. But in the Torah's Kohenim's method, the repetition comes to teach us a new halacha from those words themselves. What is this new halacha? That it shares rules with the Shabbos of each week. Now, the Torah's Kohanim just told us that Shabbos and Shemitah share rules. Just like it says with regard to one Shabbos LaHashem, so it said with regard to the other Shabbos LaHashem. However, we don't know from the Torah's Kohanim yet, from the Pasuk, which tells us that they share rules, we don't know which is the source for the other. Is Shabbos meant to be compared to Shemitah, or Shemitah meant to be compared to Shabbos? That's why the Torah's Kohanim does that extra phrase, just as it's written with regard to Shabbos Bereishis, Shabbos LaHashem, so too is it written with regard to Shemitah, Shabbos LaHashem, which teaches us that we compare Shemitah to Shabbos, not that we compare Shabbos to Shemitah. In what way do we compare Shemitah to Shabbos? So the Rabbi brings, based on the Pirush of a Ravid on Torah's Kohanim, the Ravid explains that what we derive from the rules of Shabbos is that we don't have to back up the Shemitah year into the 6th year and stop working on the 6th year, in the 6th year. Just like you don't back up on Friday and stop working for the sake of Shabbos, so too need you not back up the Shemitah into the 6th year. Likewise, just like you don't have to extend the Shabbos into Sunday, neither do you have to extend the Shemitah into the next year, so that those things which appear after the Shemitah year is over, you may harvest even though they grew in Shemitah. You don't have to extend it. And the Rebbe brings from the Gemara in Moed Katan that Rabban Gamliel stated, and in fact did away with an earlier regulation which applied when the Beis Hamikdash stood, that they did stop plowing fields after Pesach, and they did stop working trees, plowing around trees to improve the soil after Shavuos. So in the case of fields, it was 6 months into the previous year that they backed up the Shemitah, and 3 months in the case of an orchard. So Rabbi Gamliel says, no, you don't need to. It's true that there was such an ordinance in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, but since by Torah law you don't have to, so we're not going to burden the people with that. In the years when there's no Beis Hamikdash, you may in fact work till just before Rosh Hashanah. And you may start working the land again just after Shemitah. That's what we learn from Shabbos for the rules of Shemitah. That's what the Torah's Kohanim tells us by saying that just like it says Shabbos LaHashem concerning the Shabbos each week, so too does it say Shabbos LaHashem concerning Shemitah. So we're supposed to derive the rules of Shemitah from Shabbos, that there is no Tosefus, there is no extra time needed to stop working the land. Why does the Torah have to tell us that? Why would I have assumed that you're not meant to work the land before Rosh Hashanah, before the 7th year begins? Because the Torah called it that V'shovso ha'oretz, the land shall rest. It's not only a shvisa, a cessation of work for the owner, the farmer, but it's a rest for the land, which might mean that you're supposed to avoid having things grow in your field. How do you avoid having things grow in your field the 7th year? By not plowing and not planting at the end of the 6th year. It won't grow in the 7th year. So it's reasonable to say that you're not allowed to work the land before the 7th year comes in. That's why the Torah's Kohanim teaches us no, that this posuk, Shabbos LaHashem, which compares Shemitah to Shabbos, comes to teach us that you don't have to back up the Shemitah and you don't have to extend it. This is all according to the method of Torah's Kohanim of learning halachas from the repeated phrase Shabbos LaHashem. So the Torah's Kohanim, by a method of like Gzeira Shova, parallel phraseology, it says in Shabbos LaHashem, it says the Shemitah Shabbos LaHashem, so we derive parallel halachas. The Shemitah is learned from Shabbos. That's all Torah's Kohanim. But according to Rashi, who's out to teach us the meaning of the posuk, what does the posuk tell us with the word Shabbos LaHashem? That it should be for Hashem's sake, as it was with Shabbos Bereishis, where a person keeps the Shabbos for Hashem's sake. Now, what exactly is the kind of rest that a person is supposed to rest in Shemitah, which is derived from the Shabbos Bereishis? So first said the Rabbi, let's examine the term Shabbos Bereishis. Why it's such a funny term? Why not say the Shabbos of the days of the week, like it says here in the parasha about Shemitah, that it's the Shabbos of the years? There is the Shabbos of the days. So what is the meaning of Shabbos Bereishis specifically? Says the Rebbe, there's a major difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shabbos comes to commemorate two things. It commemorates creation, that Hashem created the world in 6 days and he rested on the 7th, as it says in the Aseret HaDibros in Parshas Yisro. So Shabbos is Zecher L'Maaseh Bereishis, like we say in the Kiddush. Shabbos also reminds us of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Also, as we say in the Kiddush, Zecher L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's a reminder of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now, that reminder of Yetzias Mitzrayim is not unique to Shabbos. All Yomim Tovim are also a reminder of Yetzias Mitzrayim, as we say in the davening of each and every Yom Tov davening, Zeicher Liztias Mitzrayim, that you, Hashem, gave us this particular Yom Tov, which is a reminder of Yitzias Mitzrayim. So that is shared with Shabbos. That's not unique to Shabbos. It applies to all other Yom Tovim, to all Yom Tovim as well. What is unique to Shabbos is that it's a reminder of creation. All the Yom Tovim don't remind us of creation. They were not ordained as Yom Tovim when Hashem created the world. It was only when Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim and made us His special nation, that's when the Yom Tovim began. They're a reminder of Yitzias Mitzrayim, but they don't hark back to Sheishes Yimei Bereishis. So Rashi over here says that the Shemitah year has to be a Zeicher L'Maaseh Bereishis, just like Shabbos Bereishis. That's the point of the Shemitah. It's a reminder of Maaseh Bereishis. And the Rebbe doesn't spell it out, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, the idea of Shemitah is that Hashem owns the land. It's His because He created it. So when we keep Shemitah, we are remembering Bereishis, and in this sense, Shemitah is like Shabbos Bereishis, the aspect of Shabbos which is a reminder of Maaseh Bereishis. Accordingly, the Rebbe explains, and I'll be very short with this. Accordingly, the Rebbe explains a Rashi in Pashas Mishpatim, which is puzzling. Sorry, the Pasuk says, is 6 days a week you shall do your work, and in the seventh you shall rest. Now this pasuk about Shabbos follows on the previous psukim which talked about the mitzvah of Shemitah. So Rashi comments on Uvayoim Hashvi Tishbois, on the seventh day of the week you shall rest. So Rashi introduces a novel idea. I might have thought that during the year of Shemitah, you don't have to keep Shabbos because it's a sabbatical year. So the pasuk tells us, Uvayoim Hashvi Tishbois, even in Shemitah, Af B'Shana Hashvi, even in the seventh year, Lo Yite'okre Shabbos Bereishis Mimekoimo, Shabbos Bereishis, the weekly Shabbos, is not uprooted. Why would it be? Shaloi Toimar, so that you don't say, Hoy, L'chol Hashon Kruya Shabbos, Leitineg Bo Shabbos Bereishis. Since the whole year is called a sabbatical year, maybe we don't keep Shabbos that year. Therefore, the pasuk tells us, "Uvayoim Hashvi Tishbois," that you should rest on the seventh day, right after telling us about Shemitah, in order that we should know that even in a sabbatical year, we still keep Shabbos every week. Said the Rebbe, why would I have thought that I don't have to keep Shabbos in a sabbatical year because it's called Shabbos? But based on what we learned before, that the idea of the Shabbos Bereishis, is the reminder of creation, so since we're keeping Shemitah all year as the reminder of creation, perhaps we don't need that weekly reminder which is accomplished by Shabbos. It's all week that we're reminded. So the Torah tells us, no, the reminder of Maaseh Bereishis that's accomplished through Shemitah is only with regard to field work, not planting, not plowing, but the reminder of Maaseh Bereishis through Shabbos Bereishis is with regard to all kinds of work and on a constant basis throughout 24 hours of Shabbos. That's how the Rebbe explains that Rashi in Mishpatim based on his explanation of the Shabbos L'Hashem here in Behar. The Rebbe concludes with Yeino Shel Torah, what the lesson in Avodas Hashem from what we learned earlier, the idea is that the rest and the holiness of Shabbos must extend into every area of a person's life. All its details. And in this, Shabbos is greater than Shemitah, where Shemitah only affects certain aspects of a person's life, the agricultural aspects. Shabbos extends to all areas of his life. Yet, Shemitah also has a greatness which Shabbos does not have. The holiness of Shabbos, of Shemitah, extends even to the fruit of the Shemitah year. They have a Kedusha Shvius, a special sanctity, for which reason we're not allowed to destroy them, to throw them out. We're not allowed to use them for merchandise, to trade in them. So the Kedusha of Shemitah extends to the fruit itself. We don't have an equivalent in the case of Shabbos every week. The Kedusha of Shabbos is for the person, but it doesn't extend to the apples that he eats for his Shabbos-dike applesauce. It's not holy. So each one has a greatness over the other, but the common principle is that the Kedusha should extend even to the other parts of his life, to all parts of his life, and even to the lowliest part, the earth and the fruits of the earth. What they both teach us is that a person should not compartmentalize, that he has areas of his life where it's holy and he's connected to the Eibishter. Mitzvahs, davening, Torah study, there he's connected. But in his ordinary workaday life, there he can be on his own. He doesn't have to be connected. No. So the lesson of Shabbos and Shemitah is that his connection to Hashem extends to all areas